whenever we're ready.
Hi, I'm Matthew.
And I'm Susan. Together we love to travel.
We have had some awesome adventures.
Whether it be national parks like Grand Canyon or Yellowstone,
In planes, trains, or ferries,
in places near or far,
beautiful or historic.
we can't wait to share our next adventure with you.
So let's get going.
Welcome. So, since most of you are new here, at Fort McHenry, every day we change the flag, right? So what you see up here is our modern day flag that we changed last night. So we do it once in the morning and then once in the evening, because once we go home, we don't want to have to worry about if the storm comes in. So what we're changing it to now is a replica of the flag that would have stood above the fort in this location during the War of 1812 for the Battle of Baltimore here. So what had been going on before the British come in to fight us is that the British in 1813 came into the Chesapeake. They're going around the Chesapeake attacking towns and cities. Right? So they attack Havre de Grace and they end up burning a lot of that town. They attack St. Michael, but not quite successful there. And in August, on the 24th, they come into a little town where a lot of laws are made. Anybody know what town that would be? Our capital. Yeah. So they came into the capital after having had the Battle of Bladensburg, where a lot of the militia ran and didn't put up much of a response. And they come into the Capitol and burn down a lot of the public buildings. So buildings like the White House are going to be burned down. A lot of our nation's documents lost in that attack. And if you're a citizen of Baltimore at the time, it was said that you could see the haze from Washington, D.C. as the public buildings are being burned. So if you're a Baltimorean, think about what's going on in Chesapeake, right? And you receive word that the British are going to head towards Baltimore. How might that make you feel based on what they were also doing around the Chesapeake when they did take cities and towns? Would you want to protect your home? Right? So the Baltimoreans, right, in response to all this, are going to work together. They're going to work together, come together to protect their home and city. And the British, why would they want to come? Any guesses? Baltimore is the third largest city in the United States at the time. It had also been a home to privateers. So, in response to the British Navy coming in, the U.S. government had commissioned privateers. They received a letter marked saying it was legal for them to attack British ships. And they would be called privateers. But if you're the British, what might you think of them as?
Pirates.
Pirates. Yeah. So Baltimore actually earns the nickname as being a nest of pirates because a fifth of them would operate here out of Baltimore. So they're coming to Baltimore to attack. Right? And they have some preparations made. So if you're a citizen not in the militia, you would have been involved in building a mile-long entrenchment over at Hampstead Hill. Every demographic, right? So unless you're in the militia, you're going to be a part of that, right? So likely you and me are going to be. So you and me, it doesn't matter your age, right? Your gender, you'd be a part of building that. And then we're going to bring in militia. So we'll have over 1,000 men here at Fort McHenry by the time we see the sails of the British ships. And the British are going to land at North Point on September 12th, and they're going to make their way towards Baltimore, heading towards Hampstead Hill, where we'd also have militia waiting for them. That doesn't go quite as they planned. One of their generals, General Ross, is shot and killed in a skirmish along the way. And it falls on Colonel Brooks to make the decision on whether or not to proceed when they get to Hampstead Hill. The thing is, he doesn't know whether or not the ships are going to make it past Fort McHenry. Because the British ships, their plan was to come by Fort McHenry, attack, and kind of surround the city. But we are prepared. We have over 1,000 men here, remember, right? We've seen merchant vessels in the harbor. So then the bombardment for Fort McHenry starts on September 13th in the morning. And it lasts for 25 hours. Right? As all these bombs and rockets are headed towards Fort McHenry at a rate of about 40 seconds. Right? So if you think about, if you're a soldier here at Fort McHenry, if you're a citizen of Baltimore, right, the kind of apprehension you might feel. Or even if you're Francis Scott Key. Now, what was Francis Scott Key doing? Anybody know?
Did they detain him?
They detained him, yeah, so very close. He had been negotiating the release of Dr. William Beans on board a vessel while they were on their way to Baltimore. It's likely, or at least the British commanders thought, they overheard the plans. Right, him, a government representative by the name of John Skinner, come to release it, and they're successful. But when they are about to attack, they're not allowed to leave. Right? If you're a commander who thinks that one of the men aboard your ship, who is part of the U.S. government or representative, right, had overheard your plans, are you going to let them go?
No.
No. So they're not prisoners per se. They're allowed to walk around the ship. They get fed. They're just not allowed to leave until the battle is over. And likely they're also not going to be told what's going to be happening. So if you're Francis Scott Key, right, sitting aboard the ship, wondering what's happening during the battle, what are some things you might do to try to figure out what's happening? What are things you might look for or listen for? Right? Bombs bursting in air, rockets red glare. Right? You might look for the flag, but then you think about it, right? The flag, there's a storm that comes in the evening of September 13th. So it's not going to be flying like it is now, right? It's red, white, and blue. What else is red, white, and blue? The Union Jack. So it's not a lot of help to look for the flag, even though there was a fairly large flag flying. Armistead had ordered 2 flags to be made for the fort here. A 17 by 25 foot storm flag and a 30 by 42 foot garrison flag from Mary Pickersgill. So during the storm, right, they're probably flying that 17 by 25 foot flag, but it's still probably not very visible, right? So, but you hear the sound of the rockets, right? See them, right? It kind of gets, the battle's not over, right? So, essentially, during all that time, right, we're basically just holding on. The British would be firing at us. Our cannons are 1.5 miles. There were 2. So about where would they probably be sitting, you think? 2 miles? Around that, yeah. So just kind of right out of our range. We're just kind of keep them at bay. Right? And after such a long engagement, they decide they're going to leave because this is going to be a lot more costly than they had initially intended. They still had to go down to New Orleans. Right? So they decide we'll come back to Baltimore next year, right? And the bombardment stops on the morning of September 14th. Right? The weather's definitely cleared up a little bit. Right? But when that stops, right, if you are one of the citizens of Baltimore, or you're Francis Scott Key, Dr. William Beans, or John Skinner, do you know what has happened? No, right? There are 2 options, right? Either the British took the fort, right? Or we outlasted them, right? But you don't know. So what you might look for, what might you look for to find out? The flag, them to do something that they do every morning. Any guesses what that is? Raise the flag. Right? So they're going to pull out the flag, that garrison flag that they've been keeping dry throughout the night, and they're going to raise it to what tune? Anybody know? Yankee Doodle. So when they raise that flag to the tune of Yankee Doodle, that's going to be a message, right? That we have outlasted, right? That Fort McHenry is still in United States hand, that this city of Baltimore has not fallen, right? And so in that moment, Francis Scott Key feels inspired to write a poem about the events that transpired, what he witnessed, and he's going to call it The Defense of Fort McHenry. Later, he's going to go back to his hotel room, right, and put it to a melody called The Anacreon to Heaven, which was the song for British societal song. Fairly common to put words and melodies to other melodies and songs. So he's going to put that and publish it. Anybody know what he's going to call it?
Star Spangled Banner.
That's right. He calls it the Star Spangled Banner. Probably a little more catchy than the Defense of Fort McHenry, right? So, and then with a matter of a few weeks, right, it goes viral, right? As much as you can without cell phones, right? Even today, right, if you had a song, get sung all across the country within a matter of a month or so, that's pretty impressive. So it starts to spread around the country. You think about what that might do in terms of, you now have this battle at Curve where we successfully outlasted the British, which was the most powerful navy in the world at the time, right? It gives a more equal footing when we're negotiating the Treaty of Ghent, raises American morale, right? And now you have an extremely popular song about this flag. So how might that change the way people think about a flag now, right? And the symbolism around it. So this is all transpiring as a result of this battle. And later, throughout the decades, right, people are going to be singing this song continually, sometimes for different social and cultural movements. Sometimes they will use the banner, right, the actual banner, right, in their marches for equality. The suffragettes would do that. Civil rights activists would do that. And now, we all have different ideas of what the flag might mean to us, right? So, here at Fort McHenry, we have a lot of symbolism around the flag too, right? Thinking a lot about the community as the community got together to help and save their town and city. So, this becomes a very special place for that reason. And it's 1931 when that song becomes our national anthem. Right? Kind of renewing a little bit amongst the Great Depression. And then, in 1948, President Truman made a proclamation that there must always be a flag flying above Fort McHenry. And this is the first of its kind for the proclamation. There are a few other places, like the White House, for example, but Fort McHenry becomes the first. So, for that reason, we will fly our flag today. We're going to fly a 10 by 14 foot flag because we have to think a little bit about the weather as well. So, as you can imagine, if we put up our 30 by 42 foot flag and we have really strong winds, the kind of power that could have, right? And then it might break our flagpole, and now we're no longer able to fulfill that presidential proclamation. So that is why we change it at night, and in the morning, whoever's church flag changed, right? For me, for example, I look at the weather, right, and decide which flag we're going to fly today based on that. And using the weather, I've decided upon the 10 by 14 foot flag that we're going to go ahead and change. We're essentially going to recreate the moment that Francis Scott Key wrote about in the Star Spangled Banner. So if you would like to help me unfold that flag and raise the flag, please come up to the parade ground. We would really appreciate your help. Just right here, and then line up in 2 lines right here. Right, I'm going to go ahead and grab the flag. So if I could have 2 lines, right? Any of the kids would like to help, you're more than welcome to. All right, takes a few people, like we need a community, right? To change the flag, just like the citizens of Baltimore. All right. backwards, unfolding this flag. Right, and if you could grab it as you go. So on one side, if you grab it, hand it to the person across. Alright, and then do it again. Alright, and take this one side and grab it so that way you can just pull it out and walk away from each other. Alright, now that we've become friends, unfortunately you have to walk away from each other. Oh, we got it like right here? There you go. Alright. Alright, so let's stick with this flag while we get hooked up and ready. How many stripes are there? 15, that's right. How many stars? 15. Alright, so how many states do you think there were? Close. Well, actually 18 during the battle, but when they first changed the flag, right? 1794 is when they make the law, so it's going to be changing in 1795. They add the 2 stripes. It's going to be for Kentucky and Vermont. By the time of the battle, we have 18 states. Tennessee, unfortunately, not represented here yet. Right? Louisiana, right? And Ohio are going to be part of the Union, which is not represented yet. And it's not until 1818 when Congress decides to change again, it goes back to the 13 stripes, right? And adding stars. So this is the only version of flag that has more than 13 stripes. Alright, so if we're all ready for our vote, just let go whenever you feel it leave your hand so that we don't have some children flying up with the flag with us, right? Right, so whenever we're ready. Enjoyed it. If you would like to walk around, please feel free. If you have any questions, we're more than happy to answer them. Thank you.